Well, hello, welcome back to the channel. Welcome to the Sloppy Modeler. Happy to have you along with us today. We are continuing our build with the Star Trek Discovery USS Enterprise 1701C from the CBS All Access streaming channel, the Michael Burnham and Captain Christopher Pike USS Enterprise. This is such a fun little kit to build, and the end result, I think, is going to be just absolutely a fun, cute little model. It is tiny. It's only about less than 8 inches long, but it definitely carries all the hallmarks of the USS Enterprise from the original series. The hull, primary hull shape, the saucer shape, and its accompanying color and its shape, the light positions, all of that really harken back to the original series. And of course, the secondary hull is almost a dead ringer except for the stepped platform. And of course, you have the little bit of the redesigned nacelles. But for the most part, this kit is exactly what a lot of us were hoping for who watch Discovery and watch other Star Trek productions. I am also excited about getting the USS Enterprise 1000 kit when it releases sometime here in June, maybe July. I think mine is on, maybe even on its way. But that is a larger version of this. There's also an additional light kit. All Scale Model Trek has already done a review, open box review of the kit and of the lighting kit, and I think that's going to be an amazing addition to anyone's collection for this for the Star Trek Enterprise franchise. I will say this tiny little kit is exactly that. It's hard to work in. It's reminiscent of the 1/1000 scale NX-01s that I've done recently. It's reminiscent of the USS Defiant. You know, really, it's in that small scale. Lights have to be ultra tiny. It's very, very difficult even to put LEDs in here. And I've reverted to almost all SMDs throughout the entire build. It seems to be producing enough light, and I'm excited to see what our results are as we move this ahead. So for now, we're going to get started with the second half of the build, and I think we'll come to a conclusion on that. And we hope you enjoy it. If you like what you see, hit that like button. We appreciate your subscriptions, and if you want to share, please go ahead and do so. Welcome aboard. Okay, hey, welcome. Just a quick demonstration of what we've got for our nacelle. This is the or the inside of the nacelle. And essentially what we've got is I have loaded up that white in there with fiberfill behind the glass. And I have included a piece of my modeler's clay behind the Bassard. And that typically I just send that halfway in, and that works great. And then what I have in the outboard side of the nacelle is I've got a blue light that's wired in with a resistor. I've got another blue light that's wired in, and that resistor is up here in the front. And then I've got a red light that's wired into the front of the nacelle for the Bassard collector. And that goes in something just kind of like that. So the next step would be to trim these 3 hots and combine them into one. and then I can lay that in there, and then the 3 negatives and lay it into there, and then that cotton fiber fill will hide those wires, and I should have a working nacelle. So I am going to go ahead. The next thing I'm going to do though is I'm going to scrape the paint off of this nacelle so that it'll hold the glue, and it should help reduce the seam work that I have to do. But I could easily, just as easily, tape off this nacelle right here, and that would give me a really nice look. I could tape that off quite easily and then spray the whole thing again once I work on the seam work. So let me go ahead and work on some of that, and then when I'll be back, I will make more progress. Thanks. Okay, hey, welcome back. Fast progress here at the Sloppy House. We have a completed nacelle here. We have 2 actually. I showed you the internal wiring, and let's just go ahead and power this up. And so what we've got, get this to work. We have a nacelle. It's got a light in the center. I've got a light in the back, and I still have that covered with liquid mask, and then I have this red bulb up front. I can get the Bussard collectors. You have to kind of force it in there, but I can get those Bussard collectors to go on. So what I've done is I've gone through and sanded the seam again, and I use microcrystal clear and a Q-tip cotton bud for those of you on the other side of the pond. Basically, I took my get after it here. I essentially took my little syringe and got a bead started. And I just used this like same thing like you would use a caulking gun. So essentially I went around it anywhere that we've got kind of a seam, like so. And let's come back here and then across the back here. You don't have to be super careful, but that fine bead works really nice. And then I just have again my cotton bud with just a little bit of water and go around it like so. And that gives me a nice little flow right there. Now I'm going to let that dry, and I should be able to paint right over that, and that'll light block that and keep that from coming up. I've also taped over my windows on the interior of the nacelles, and then I'll put you know, either cotton or tape or something over that bulb there to keep it from getting paint on it. But after this dries for another couple hours, I'm going to take it in the paint booth, and then I can spray the whole thing again. And actually what I think I'm going to do is go ahead and put the nacelles on, because I've got enough wire. I'm going to put the nacelles onto the pylons and then seal those up now that I'm looking at it. And once those are sealed up with puttied up, then I can go ahead and paint that whole thing silver. So that is the nacelles, and it's the same on the other side. So both of those are done and have been done, and we're letting those do their thing carefully. I went ahead, here is the cover. I went ahead and put a second coat of paint on that, and boy, it just looks and feels awesome. And so my next step is to actually install the window. Now the window, what I went in is I just this is just white primer, and I wanted to prime the area right there. I wanted to prime that front window and the top bridge, and there's two windows on each side. But I didn't want to prime this light here because I wanted as much light to come through that as possible. So now we're ready to just go ahead and set that in. And the way that this goes in as a snap tight kit, it just pops right in like that, and that window is in, and you've got that window is done just like that, and it's absolutely looks sharp. So it's going to look white, and this here looks clear. So I'm good with that. So that is the top. The bottom, I also sprayed, if I can find my, oh, here we go. So the bottom I also sprayed with just white primer on the inside of that. So it does, that gives you a really nice gloss on the outside, and it diffuses that light on the inside. And now just popping it off there, this is ready to install in the bottom of the saucer section, like so. I don't think I would trust that without some glue on it. And this canopy glue or microcrystal clear works like a charm, just to come around it and give us a glued surface, just like so. Okay. And I'm not going to put microcrystal clear in that yet. I'm going to wait till after the decals are on, but for the most part, oh, I need one more piece, and that is, let me find it and then I'll come back. Oh, no, I found it right here. This is the impulse engines, and that's a solid piece that goes all the way across the back, and that will hopefully fit in like so. Now this is a little tight. I need my eyes to do this. Wonderful. And I went ahead and just brushed on some silver right there. So now what we've got that impulse engine is in, and it is now time for the hull to mate up to that. Now, so in order to get this to stick nicely, I know it's a snap together kit, but I'm going to take the back of my blade and just come around like so. And then the same thing here. I'm just going to come around. Make sure everything's still fitting like it should. Okay, and then I like this Model Master liquid cement for plastic models for this kind of seam. Works nice, and I think the one to do is this one right here. And so essentially I'm just going to come around here. It doesn't take a lot. Especially remembering this is still a snap together kit. Because my intent is to tape this off then one last time and spray on for the seam. Okay. And now the moment of truth is, can I get all these to line up and to fit without getting glue everywhere? Probably not. Alright, so hey, I'm pretty excited. This one's going to give me a little bit of a hassle. But I'm going to get a clamp on that. I'm going to clamp the bejesus out of this. This looks pretty good. But we're still going to run some clamps. And I think the front looks real nice, but let's run another clamp here on the front. Oh, that opens it up, so be careful. Maybe one or two more. Wonderbur. Just dynamite. Just absolutely dynamite. And let's see if we can light it up for the friends and neighbors at home. Alright, so underneath is looking fantastic. That's glowing just beautiful white. This is white. This is a different color on that front, and I love that. And then these 4 points, I can't see the last one, but these came through just loud and clear. So for my money, that's gonna get it. That's gonna look great on that saucer section. And so I'm gonna let this sit. And then when I come back, I'll sand that seam. And after I sand the seam, then I can go into the paint booth and spray up the nacelles along with the pylons, and then this, and then we'll put it all together. We'll put it together with the hull and the other pieces. So thanks for staying with me on that. That was a fun little construction right there. The hull's closed up. The nacelles are closed up. I'm not putting any lights into the secondary hull, which is here, and it's so all very, very tiny, but I'm not putting any lights into that. Probably should, but there's no, I'm just not. We're not going to do it. So we've got to work on that next, and then we'll be back with you. Thank you. Alright, hey, real quick, we have our saucer is glued together, top and bottom, and I put a first coat of silver on this, but I've got a pretty noticeable seam. Even if there's going to be decal over that, I want to fix that. So I've got a pretty noticeable seam there. So in essence, what I'm going to do is take my sorry about that. I'm going to take my Mr. Surfacer 1000. Give it a shake. Go up a little bit here. Take my Mr. Surfacer 1000 and then come around here with a pretty fine brush. I don't want to overkill this, but anywhere I've got a seam, I'm just going to go in and just dabble this in there, because it's a tiny seam. It's not gigantic by any stretch. And so, and I'm not necessarily brushing it on, I'm kind of just letting this self-level. That kind of gives me a little more, and I'm not worried. This stuff sands really quick and really nice. So all you have to do is just come around it like so. Anywhere that you might have a seam. And go a little heavier when you've got a heavier seam right on it. This stuff takes a few minutes to dry, but not bad, maybe 20-30 minutes. I like to let it kind of harden. That way it can sand easier, and it stays in that spot a little longer. But just like the traditional TOS, you're going to have a seam where the lower saucer meets the upper saucer. And rather than using a bunch of putty in here, this is just kind of a nice way of doing it. This will self-level. And it might take a couple coats, especially where I've got this giant seam back here. It'll probably take a couple of coats to do that, but that's really all it takes, and we're just going to let that sit there. Now I do have, it's currently under clamp at the moment. The secondary hull has been attached to the nacelles, and the nacelles have been attached to the secondary hull. And I do have a pretty nasty, let's see if that changes it, not much, a little bit. But this is nice because it's taped off, and when I'm done, I can do the same thing here with seam filler top and bottom. It needs a little bit of work. Not bad, but a little bit of work. I've got my wires ready to wire in, and then I just have to feed my wires in through the top of the neck, and that's ready to go. But for the most part, yeah, we're very, very pleased. I'm very pleased with this turning out. So looks like I've got one more pretty nasty seam over here. Get to it or not. Yeah, good. So we'll just let this sit. Now, one of the things with this Mr. Surfacer, I don't know what its base alkali or solubility is. And I don't read Japanese, so it's really hard for me to know which way to clean this up. But I do know that water takes forever to clean that up, and I mean forever. And paint thinner, just regular lacquer thinner, doesn't get it done. But I do know that MEK does. If I come in here, and MEK is like a major solvent for anything oil-based. And just like that, I take a primer brush, and in essence, oh, we gotta go a little deeper here. We got some on the, yeah, just like that, we're back to a regular brush. So that's the way I clean those little primer brushes, and I just keep a little vial of MEK here on hand, and you can see it's dirty, but it works just fine. Clean that up. So good progress. Everything looks very sharp when you light it up. I'm really pleased with that portion of it. Like I said, we'll get that seam fixed, and then we'll really tape off these interiors glass really nicely, and then give it one final coat of silver. And actually what I'll do is tape that off and then attach it, and that way I can work with that seam, then paint the whole thing with its last coat of silver, look at any light leaks that I've got. I know I've got one or two back around the exhaust nacelles. And so regardless, we're still making nice progress here. And I think that it's going to look very cool when we're all said and done. It looks like I got one on the neck here that might use a little bit of clamping. So in essence, looks like I've got a pretty sizable little, so just a little shot of the plastic. And I did scrape that paint off of that, so it's not gonna keep it from working. But coming in here now, oh yeah, just like that, boom, that is now sealed up. I'm gonna take a little cotton bud over that yet, just to smooth out that glue seam. Gonna mess up my paint a little bit, but that's okay. So, all right, that is the progress we're making, and you can see that this is already starting to dry. It's already starting to flash over, but it still needs time to harden and to cure. So I'm going to let that sit, I'm going to let this sit, and the next step would be to attach to the sanding, reapply if I need to, and then attach this to the secondary hull. And then once that's done, then I can do a full spray of the silver. And then once that's done, we can put some more glass on, or we can just go ahead and start the decaling, and that's going to be really nice on this particular model. But it looks like my nacelles are in good shape, so we'll continue with the work, and we'll be back. Thank you. I wanted to give you an update regarding where we sit with the USS Enterprise from Star Trek Discovery. This is the beauty shot right here at that angle. Essentially, we've got our bridge, looks dynamite. This is never going to light up the registry with that bright. It's just never going to happen. But I am so glad that I went ahead and put these extra lights in here under these corners. By the time I get microcrystal clear and the decals on there, I'm going to be one happy camper. The side nacelles have turned out really excellent, in my opinion. Very, very diffused for a change. They look just great. I got a couple of light leaks, of course. One there over the chiller grill. And then up here, I finally peeled off my liquid mask that I've been holding on to for quite some time. That's going to get a decal over it, and that is going to, oops, sorry, that is going to knock your socks off. And then finally, come on now, we've got our impulse engines there. The two red impulse engines light up. I couldn't ask for a nicer impulse engine. They just look amazing. And then we've got our two Bassard collectors are lit with the bright reds there, and we're red amidships, that's for sure. And I'm really glad that it would have overpowered the top of the hull had I not put these four lights in on the corners. The only thing I wish is that there was a way to put some lighting inside this, or at least the area where they had indicated where the windows would have been on that hull, because I know that they're going to be there after we get decals on it, but you couldn't pre-drill them and then work from there. So we'll talk more about that a little bit later when I'm decaling. But the thing that's missing is there's no neck, there's no color or lighting in the neck, and there's no lighting back here on the fantail or the shuttle bay. I suppose one could drill that out. I suppose one could put a couple of lights in there. I don't know if you'd ever get the neck lit, but you could put an SMD in the neck, and you could put an SMD on each side pointing the other direction. There's room in there to do it, but boy, you're starting to get really tight and tiny. But you could do that, but this is going to lack that. Hopefully the decals will make up for it. I do have a nice planetary sensor there, and oh, I see I have some light bleed around this outer edge, and that's probably because that is pretty thin at that point. So I might have to do a little bit of work on that. Yeah, I can see I've got that around that whole edge. So I'm going to have to probably do black over that and then come back and do silver again. And but because that's really thin, because I've been sanding on it to get that seam taken care of, which we did, but in the dark you can see it coming through. I couldn't see it with any light on. So let's bring the lights up again here a little bit, blow out the cameras. But very, very pleased. The next step will be to start the decaling, the light, a couple of light blocks that need to be done at the neck. You can see one there, and just a couple of tiny ones back here on the back of the nacelles where these silver nacelle exhausts hook in. But once again, where these go in, I'm just so pleased with the way that looks. I mean, I could do that without decals and I'd be 100%, but with decals we're going to be over the moon. All right, so that is the lighting finally done and the paint done. I'm pretty pleased. I've got a couple of little spots, but you know what? Under the decals, you'll never see half of that, especially with the Aztecing decals across almost all of this. I need to do a clear coat, polish this up a little bit, do a clear coat, and then we'll be off for decaling. So, very excited, and we will be back with you when we get to that point. Thanks. All right, hey, working on the decaling for the USS Enterprise from Discovery, the NCC 1701. This is a neat little ship. There are a couple of peculiar issues in the decaling you need to be aware of. Round 2, as much as I enjoy them and love the fact that they bring these models to us, their quality control issues on a few things, like their box art is not up to speed. It's not right in some areas. I will say this: the decals themselves have gone on very nice. We've done the entire lower section of saucer, including the rim with the windows, and that went on really well. We also did the pylons, the rear of the fantail here, and then underneath. Same thing with the nacelles. Now, one interesting thing is that these decals do not wrap the entire nacelle. They actually only come down to like half side here where this line is. Same thing here. I've got to get some more microsol on here, but same thing on the inside. They only cover, you know, certain areas. So these, so they're left with some striping. Additionally, I am really pleased with the way that this color choice, this custom color I made, the way that it has turned out against the decals. That's always an unknown, but it's a very subtle, the color I chose with all that mix, a very subtle decal difference with the Aztecing in contrast to the actual process. So we've gotten a lot of the lower side, actually all the lower side is done, and we're working actually on the side of the hull. And that's what I wanted to bring to your attention. We'll move this off to the side for just a second and bring the box up. Let's start with the most recent, and I'm not sure if you can see this. We'll go this way, maybe it's a little easier. Make sure I'm in screen. Let's go here. Yeah, I think you can see that right there. So, their quality control as far as box art and so forth, this 28 and this 28 are wrong. One of those is like number, I don't remember, but so they've duplicated that, but the color's wrong. So I start on one side, this side, I got the paper off, cut, wet, and it doesn't work, so I had to flip it over and do it to the other side on that stage. On the bottom, there's a couple of additional pieces the same way. 21 and 20 are reversed, I believe, and there were a couple of other spots that, oh yeah, right here, like this 43 and this 43. One of those is 44, one's 43. So they just had some copy and paste factors on this that they need to get kind of in touch with their box art people and say, hey, you know, we need to be a little more careful. For instance, here, nearly 12 inches long. There's no way on any scale that I come from that thing is 12 inches long. If I pull out my deal here, we are 7 3/8 approximately from tip to stern, and so it's not a 12-inch model. It's less than 8 inches long. So that is, again, a copy and paste. I think that's probably from the Discovery, is nearly 12 inches long on that. So I haven't done the top yet, but I suspect when I get to it that there will be some additional pieces that are also a challenge. But we'll get through it. I just want to make you aware that you need to be looking at the box and the color of the decal and so forth when you put this on. The other thing that you want to be very careful with, in order to do these decals here on the side of the hull, you know, leave a little space, leave some space there for the draw the line. And secondly, I had to look very carefully at the window placement for how these, like some of these lower decals, are they right side up, right side down? So look very carefully at the window placement, and that will give you these two center pieces of which direction that they need to go. And again, I'm kind of an idiot, I admit it, freely admit it. However, there are just some things that there could be some enhanced clarity on some of this, but for now we're working on how to get through these decals, and they're going on great. They're going on fantastic. This was just one coat of microsol, and it's almost there. Another coat should finalize that, and we'll make some progress. But yeah, regardless, we're on the right track, and as soon as we've got the top done, we're almost to a finish on this. We'll have to put the Bussard collectors in and do some more decal stuff. Oh, the other decals that went in look quite nice are the decals over the exhaust, and when the lights are on, those light up just really, really nice and give you a nice look at that. So, all right, I'm going to. All right, welcome back to the USS Enterprise, the NCC 1701 from the CBS All Access streaming site from the show Discovery, and probably my favorite ship out of all of them in the Discovery series, and I'm partial to the original series, Constitution class, and of all the redesigns and reimaginations, this comes the closest to it. So we have done all the damage I can do to this, I think. I'll probably regret those words. I'll jinx myself, something worse will happen. But in essence, we've got all the decals done, and we're going to talk about that in a second. I've managed to go ahead and snap in the Bussard collectors, and I had to trim some of that away to get those to fit, and I need to pull those off because the next step is to tape over the bridge dome and the bridge visor, and then the lower sensory, planetary sensor, tape all those off, and then do a coat of clear lacquer in the flat coat, and take all this gloss off that you're seeing. And then what I'll do is I'll put back on the Bussard collectors, take the tape off, and then, sorry about that, take the tape off, and then add the Bussard collectors back on, and finally put on the deflector dish. And then we'll set this aside as we go and do the USS Glenn for our final piece of our four-piece build. So I'm really pleased with this. A lot of it has come out right. I have some things we're going to talk about here shortly, primarily in the decals. And the decals themselves, I want to be perfectly clear, the decals are absolutely fantastic. I had none of them crack, break, fold over on me, not lay into crevices and cracks, etc. It's absolutely been wonderful. I do have, and I mentioned it just a bit ago, much against thee, as they say, as far as the decal guide that you have. It is not good. The entire top section here is missing all the numbers that would go on this. Same thing here. These are actually on the bottom sections here where that would normally go. That entire section is just gone, and they failed to put it on there. So knowing what goes where is an absolute nightmare, and I actually screwed up just because I wasn't paying super close attention and assumed some things out of the gate, and I assumed wrong right out of the gate here on where some of these things go. So I am not pleased with that at all. Round two, beautiful kit, beautiful decals. This box art needs to be revised. The other thing needs to be revised, This model, again, is only 7 3/4 inches long, not 12 inches long. It is molded in color, but they simply, just a little bit of fine-tuning and you would have had an absolute perfect kit, but you kind of missed it on that. And I'm anxious to see what the 1/1000 kit comes, how it comes, which is on its way. So we'll have to see that. Now, the other thing that I personally screwed up, just so you have, this is kit number 26, part number 26. This goes over the deflector dish. And then what I did, as I screwed up, is that you also have part number 72. And just moving too fast, I put part number 72 over the deflector dish. But this part here, 26, in no way fits over this gloss. So I'm just going to have a solid, and I'm fine with that on this small scale. Can't hardly see it anyways. But that is the challenges on the decals. And I guess I got so flustered with the numbers not being correct and everything being missed that it just caused me to rush a little bit. Other than that, this is just a neat little kit. I am pleased with the way that the colors turned out, and now I'm excited to see how a flat coat will bring out the Aztecing and bring out some of these lines on this kit that weren't there. I do have to use some more microsol before we go to the kit, like so back here on this piece and some other things. And then we'll also trim off some of the carrier film that kind of hangs over a couple of these areas. But as soon as that little final touches are done, we can flat coat and then put on the final pieces here. Again, those final pieces are the tape and then moving these Bussard collectors off. So that is our update for now. When I come back with you, all of that stuff will be done. So when I come back, we'll come back for an initial reveal. Again, I'm going to do a final reveal of all 4 kits together on its base, and I've made some progress there, so kind of excited about how I think that's going to turn out. But let's get some more microsol on this and some tape, and we should be off and running. I will see you in a bit. Alright, hey, we are across the finish line. No, we're not. I still have to put it on the base, but the actual model is complete. And I gotta say, after that dull coat, I am absolutely amazed at how that changes the character of a model. That went from looking like a shiny little toy to suddenly it looks like, you know, if you put the right screen behind it, it could be traveling down the road. Not quite alive, but definitely an improvement over where it was. My lights look fantastic all across the spectrum, from the from the impulse engines to the Bussard collectors. Our blue lights back here, and our lights back across the interior of the nacelles, and then of course up on top of the with these 4 lights have come in really super fantastic right there. Just amazing, the light across the front and across the tops. Really well done kit, I have to say. Like I said, except for my challenges with the numbering scheme on the decals, I'm really pleased. And it looks like an NCC 1701. I mean, from that angle right there, it looks almost no different, except for the slot in the nacelles. And I'm not sure if I care for that, quite honestly. But this has been a fun kit. I have one light leak there, and I think I got a light leak on this side that I have to deal with. And hopefully a little dab of silver paint will take care of that. A little dab of my hull color, I should say, right there. And we will, basically I need to turn this off in the dark, grab my paint and do that, and it's still way too light out to do that. But this is going to bring this episode of the Discovery series to a close. I just want to take a moment to say thank you for subscribing, thank you for liking my videos and the comments. We've had some more comment action recently, and I really appreciate that greatly. Thank you for coming along on the journey on this NCC 1701. I have the NCC 1701 1/1000 scale on its way, and that's a bit off. That's going to go into the stash, I'm sorry to say, but still very pleased to be able to have that kit coming at a certain point. However, really excited about the way this has turned out. and looking forward to doing the USS Glenn next. So I will say at this time, thanks for subscribing. I hope you have a wonderful week ahead of you if you're watching this on a weekend. But I just want to say thank you again for all of your support. If you like what you see, go ahead and hit the like button. That always helps the algorithms out for YouTube to help me grow. And if you hit share and subscribe, that's even better. So we appreciate all of those actions on your behalf. I know you could be doing anything else, and it's summertime, and you could watch anything else anytime rather than me babble on here, but I appreciate you spending your time with me, and we will continue to produce videos to the best of my capability. So until then, this is a Sloppy Modeler saying thank you and signing off.